can you model decimal multiplication? Let's use a model with some shelving to find out how. A carpenter cut 2 shelves with the dimensions given below. Show how to use a model to find the area of each shelf. The shelves measure 0.5 meter by 1.5 meters and 0.3 meter by 0.5 meter. How do you find the area of a rectangle? Multiply length and width. Estimation. Will each answer be larger or smaller than 1? Are the shelves in the problem bigger or smaller than a 2 meter by 1/2 meter shelf? The shelves are smaller than a 2 meter by 1/2 meter shelf. So, would each area be greater than or less than 1? Since the shelves are smaller than a 2 meter by 1/2 meter shelf, each area would be less than 1. Multiplying a decimal by a decimal. For the shorter shelf, shade the first 5 columns of a hundredths grid and the first 3 rows. Why do we shade 5 columns? 5 of the 10 columns is 5/10, or 0.5. Why do we shade 3 rows? 3 of the 10 rows is 3/10, or 0.3. What are the dimensions of the rectangle formed where the shading overlaps? 0.5 meter by 0.3 meter. What amount does each small square represent? 1/100th. How many small squares are in that rectangle? 15 small squares are in that rectangle. The area of the shelf is the brown area where this shading overlaps. You can write this area as a product of decimals. 0.5 times 0.3 equals 0.15. The area of the shorter shelf is 0.15 square meter. For the longer shelf, use 2/100ths grids side by side. Shade 15 columns and 5 rows. Why do we need more than 1/100ths grid? The length of the shelf is greater than 1. How is multiplying 1 5/10 times 5/10 like multiplying 15 times 5? Both products contain the digits 7 and 5. How is multiplying 1 5/10 and 5/10 different from multiplying 15 times 5? You need to place a decimal point in the product. The area of the shelf is the brown area where the shading overlaps. 1 5/10 times 5/10 equals 75/100ths. The area of the longer shelf is 75/100ths square meter. Now you know how to model decimal multiplication.